Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Perry, and I am the scholarship chair for Kazago. I'm also the music director and organist at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Mesa. Kazago is a mouthful, and what it stands for is Central Arizona Chapter of the American Guild of Organists, Kazago. I'll be saying Kazago a lot today. And it's an organization that is dedicated to fostering a diverse and thriving community of organists and enthusiasts who share their knowledge, inspire passion, and celebrate the organ in all of its forms. We have a website, cazago.org, and I'm going to refer to this often because on that website, you will be able to watch this stream live. So hello, everyone online. Hopefully we're live, and hopefully there are some people watching us right now. And then we've got people in the room who are watching, and if you are watching in the room and would like to go to the website to give, you can go to cazago.org, and there's a button you can give to our scholarship program. Because one of our primary goals is to nurture new organists in all ages, and this marathon that we're doing today is one of the ways that we do this. So we are trying to raise money today, and with this money, we want to teach young people about the wonders of the King of Instruments. And what better place to do this than St. Mary's? This is a gorgeous church. For those of you watching online, you're missing out on being in this fantastic room filled with art and light and color and just the sound of this room. The organ is going to sound fantastic in this room. I can't wait to hear it. So in this room, we have the beautiful Schantz organ, which was installed in 2012. And the music director and organist here at St. Mary's is Gordon Stevenson. And so right now, let me just thank him for all that he's done to help prepare this event and help me out as we kind of get this marathon going. So thank you, Gordon. So we have many talented organists that are going to play today, and they're all from our chapter. They're all local artists. And these organists have given their time as well today. And they all understand that this is a worthy cause. They feel just as passionately about the organ as I do, as the entire chapter does. And they want to share their talents so that we can get new young organists and give them lessons and introduce them to the organ. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to give a couple instructions. If you are watching online, please post liberally on the YouTube channel. Please let us know you're watching. Please respond to the different performers that perform, congratulating them, thanking them. And if you give online, I would love it if you put a post saying, I gave online. You don't have to say the amount. If you want to, you can. It's entirely up to you. But we would like to have this online community be a part of this presentation today. Otherwise, the performers will one by one climb up to the loft and play the organ and present their music for us. And so the first presentation for this first hour will be German organ music. And when we think of the pipe organ, in fact, if you ask a person off the street what they think of when they think of the pipe organ, they're probably going to think of Johann Sebastian Bach, probably thinking of his famous toccata in D minor. And we're going to be playing some Bach. There'll definitely be some Bach in the program. But before we start with Bach, we're going to start with a composer that predated Bach named Georg Muffat. Muffat, technically speaking, wasn't German, actually. He was born in the Duchy of Savoy, which is now France. And even more, he was a man of Scottish descent. And so Gordon, he's from the same country as Gordon. We call him a German composer because he spent the majority of his career working in German-speaking countries. And he held the post of organist in Salzburg and a Kapellmeister in Bavaria. Our first performer is Lawana Stoker. Lawana was a high school choir teacher in the Chandler Unified School District, and after retiring, she studied privately with Dr. Sky Hart, who is also a member of our chapter. She completed 2 organ certification courses through BYU and earned the AGO playing certificate. She's currently the student of Dr. Kristin Holton Prouty, and most recently gave a solo organ recital at Victory Lutheran Church in Mesa. She also serves as our chapter registrar. Lawana is going to play the second toccata from Muffat's Apparatus Musico Organisticus, which is just a fancy word for saying music to use on the organ. This is a collection of 12 organ toccatas and other works. And the word toccata comes from the Italian word toccare, which means to touch. And it's a style of composition that is known for free-flowing and improvisational nature. So please enjoy Lawana Stoker's Mufat playing the Toccata Secunda by Mufat. And if you're watching online, don't forget to comment on YouTube. Thank you, Lawana. That was beautiful. This room really just sounds fantastic with that organ. The organ is just, it's amazing in here. And if you're at home watching this stream online, maybe sitting in your bathrobe with your cup of coffee and your donut, I want you to think about maybe getting up and getting in your car and driving down here, because you've got to see this place and you got to hear the organ in this room to really appreciate it. But either way, whether you're watching online or you're here in the room, I've seen a couple people come in just recently. Welcome. This is the Kazago Marathon to raise money for the student scholarships. And you can give online at cazago.org. We've got a QR code that appears on the video. Maybe he'll put it up there in a minute. We've also got it on the programs. If you have a program, on the back of the program, we've got a QR code for giving. There's lots of ways to give. And believe it or not, we're old school. We've got a basket with some cash in it already. I know a couple people gave me some money earlier and I threw it in the basket to start. And so that's what this is all about today. We're here to raise money for students, young people learning the organ. And the next performer who has volunteered his time and talents to play for you is Chuck Sedgwick. Chuck Sedgwick is the music director at Orangewood Presbyterian Church, and he's the organ instructor at Phoenix College. He holds upper degrees in organ, choral music, and education from ASU and Whittier College in California. Chuck has worked as the vocal music instructor at Cortez High School, Grand Canyon University, and Arizona College of the Bible. He's served as the dean of the Riverside San Bernardino chapter of the AGO, and is currently the education chair and co-chair of the Phoenix chapter, co-chair of the Phoenix 2025 AGO convention that is going to be hosted this summer. Chuck is going to play another German piece. We're still in the German hour of the marathon, by Hugo Distler. Now, from the 17th century, that's where we listened to the last one. Mufat was in the 17th. We're going to move all the way to the 20th century for Hugo Distler, because Hugo was a composer that lived in Germany at the beginning of the 20th century. His partita on Martin Luther's chorale, Jesus Christus unser Heiland, which means Jesus Christ our Lord, is a beautiful and devout piece of music that expresses tone colors and variations of rhythm based upon the chorale tune that was written by Martin Luther. He creatively transforms and develops this tune with each variation to explore different textures, moods, and styles, all the while reflecting on the hymn's spiritual meaning. So, Chuck is sitting down at the organ now. I think he's almost ready to go. Please enjoy the partita on Jesus Christus unser Heiland by Hugo Distler, played by Chuck Sedgwick. And don't forget, if you're watching online, give us a post or shout out on YouTube. Thank you, Chuck. Let's see if we have any comments online. Oh yeah, there's people posting. Keep up the posts. It's nice to know that we're being watched online, and welcome. Those of you who've just walked in, this is the Kazago Music Marathon, to raise money for our organ scholarships for students. And that was Chuck Sedgwick playing the Partita on Jesus Christus, unser Heiland. Now, I mentioned something earlier about a convention, and I think it's safe to assume that if you're here listening or watching online, you might be a pipe organ aficionado or musician, performer, and I've got something that you might be interested in. This summer, Kazago is hosting a national AGO convention in Phoenix. We call it Sizzling Summer Stops, and it will be held June 16th to 19th this summer in Phoenix. We have a website with more information, phxago2025.org. That's phxago2025.org. And I want to thank, by the way, James, who is our streaming person today. James is up there, and he's volunteered his time. He's the person who manages the streams for St. Mary's, and he's volunteered his time and talents to put this online today. So thank you, James. I'm sure it's great. It's looking good online. I've got it right here on my phone so I can see it. I don't know who this guy is, though. He doesn't look very good. That's me. Anyway, the other person I want to thank is there's people out in the courtyard right out here that are serving cookies and refreshments. And if at any time, because this is a marathon, you don't have to stay here the whole time. If you want to go out and grab a snack, now I will, of course, I'll be down here. They've got a chain around my ankle and I can't leave until the marathon's over. But if you want to go out and grab a snack, you can do so, get some fresh air, then come back in and listen to some more organ music. So on with the program. The next piece is Toccata in D minor by Max Reger, and he was a German composer who lived at the turn of the 20th century. And his life spanned a transformative period in music and society, bridging the late Romantic and the early 20th century eras in music. It was a time of significant artistic and cultural shifts. Like Hugo Distler, Reger died young at age 43. Many men in those days did not have healthy lifestyles, and Max Reger had an exceptionally unhealthy lifestyle. He smoked and drank. He ate lots of food. It was reported, I was reading about him, and a person that went out to eat with him reported that he would go to a restaurant and order, quote, 2 hours worth of beefsteak. I don't know if restaurants still serve food in that fashion, but I guess he was able to get 2 hours worth of beefsteak. And another dinner guest says that he drank 12 bottles of beer and 4 whiskeys, but then turned down an invitation to have tea afterwards. Maybe not surprising. Anyway, Max Reger, despite being a gourmand of some kind, wrote many wonderful pieces of music, and this next piece is a toccata from his 12 Stücke, which is 12 works, opus 59. And Ken Noble is the performer. Ken received a BM in music education in 1970 and a master's in organ performance in 1972 from Brigham Young University, and he studied with J.J. Keeler. He served as the organist at First Christian Church in Mesa for 30 years, but now he's the organist at Tempe First Church of Christ Scientist, as well as Porter Park Ward in Mesa. Like the other performers today, he is an active member of Kazago. He was the treasurer from 2011 to 2013, and he is also one of our scholarship student teachers. So Ken will now play Max Reger's Toccata in D minor. Thanks, Ken. And thank you, all of you listening and attending, whether here in the room or online. Thank you for supporting the Kazago Scholarship Program. It's easy to donate. We've got a link on cazago.org. We've got QR codes on the screen, and there's a basket here in the room. Thank you so much for supporting. Let me ask a question. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and if you've ever seen Star Trek, I wonder if you've ever heard of the concept called the Prime Directive. It's like in the show, the spaceships they fly around in, they have a rule that's called the Prime Directive, and it's like the most important rule that the Federation has. And you know, Kazago has a Prime Directive too. I bet you're wondering where I was going to go with that. Kazago has a Prime Directive too, and our Prime Directive is that we must do all we can to bring new organists into the fold, to help young organists or new organists and give them help. And that's what this program is all about. You know, it's not just about getting lessons for students, and although that's one of the most important things, we also give them opportunities to perform. If you think about it, the pipe organ is the only instrument, or it's the biggest instrument that you can play where you can't actually have one in your own house, or many people don't have one in their own house. And so one of the first obstacles a young person has when wanting to learn the organ is, where do I play? Where do I go play? You know, at Kazago, we help young organists, and we show that we give them places to play, we give them chances to practice. And of course, we set them up with teachers, but we also give them chances to perform. And later on today, I've got two of our Kazago scholarship students who will perform at this event later on. And so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I want you to travel with me back to Germany, where we are finally going to play a piece by good old Johann Sebastian Bach. This is one of his most famous organ pieces, and it is often called the Little G minor Fugue. Not because it's little by any means, but we have to distinguish it from what we call the big Fantasia and Fugue, which is an entirely different piece of music, and it's also in G minor. And so there's a G minor little, and there's a G minor big. This is the G minor little, but it's a tremendous piece of music, and it's also really well known, and you're going to recognize the tune right away as soon as Mark begins to play it. Because let me introduce Mark Mackeben. Mark Mackeben is going to play this big little fugue. He originally hails from the big cornfields of northern Illinois and went to Valparaiso University and received a Bachelor's of Music education degree there. He moved to Phoenix in 2021, and he's currently the interim director of music at Our Lady of Lourdes in Sun City West. He also has his own organ service and repair business and is the Arizona representative and technician for Rogers and Johannes organs. So I think Mark is all set. He's sitting at the organ. He's looking at me. He's ready to go. This is Mark Mackeben playing Bach's Little Fugue in G minor. Thank you, Mark. There's no question that the piece is over when you hear a Picardy third. Definitely, we know when to clap at that place. So our last piece for the German section was going to be a piece by Mark DePasquale. He was going to close the German portion of the program out, but he is suffering from a nasty bug that's been going around, and so we wish him the best. Maybe he's watching now. If you are, hi, Mark. We hope you're feeling better. But Gordon, the music director here at St. Mary's and the organist here, has graciously agreed to perform a German piece in his place. Let me give Gordon a brief introduction. He's been the organist and director here at St. Mary's Basilica since 2006, but he's originally from the town of Kilwinning, south of Glasgow, in the southwest coast of Scotland. He began playing organ at the age of 11 and received an associate diploma from Trinity College of Music in London in 1998 before receiving a bachelor's degree in music and theology at the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow in 2003. Gordon oversees the liturgical and musical planning here at the Basilica and has been a regular contributor to events held by Kazago. He's well known for his improvisational technique and has contributed substantially to the development of the grandeur and solemnity of the Basilica's liturgies. He is honored to be the custodian of the Chants pipe organ, which was installed under his leadership in 2012. So Gordon is going to end the German portion of our program today with the beautiful and solemn Preludium in E minor by Nicholas Bruns. Oh, and just to be clear, this is the big Preludium, not the little one. Thanks. Thanks, Gordon. Thanks to all the performers who played in the German hour of this marathon. If you've just tuned in, you've missed the German hour. Maybe that was your intention. You want to hear the American stuff because they're coming up next. But before that, we've got a palate cleanser. You know, if all that German music has gotten into your soul and you want to go out and get some sauerkraut and bratwurst, we're going to change that up here in a second because Gordon, and he was originally going to do this anyway, but I want him to still do this. He is going to perform an improvisation. Do you want to say something about it yourself, Gordon, or just let the title speak for itself? I'm sure they're tired of listening to me talk anyway, so.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you again for coming, and can I just say that we are absolutely delighted to host this event this morning. Thank you so much, Chris, and to everyone in the chapter for being willing to come here today and to share this event with the Basilica community as well. So at this moment, I'm going to play an improvisation on the chant Jesu Dulcis Memoria, which in English would be, Jesus, the very thought of thee with sweetness fills my breast. This chant originates in the 12th century and is attributed to, I think, St. Bernard of Clairvaux. This would be a typical hymn that would be sung during the office, the holy name of Jesus. There are many occasions through the year when we might use parts of this long hymn that was written by St. Bernard. And the chant melody itself would be in what we would call the Dorian mode, so mode 1. So I'll do some sort of treatment on that. I'm not sure what yet, but we'll see what happens. So this is Jesu Dulcis Memoria.
Fantastic, Gordon. You know, the best part about improvisation is there's no wrong notes. And we just clap when he stops playing. It's pretty simple. Well, that was a good palate cleanser from the German hour as we transition to the American hour. The organ, like all things musical, has a long history in Europe, but America has written its own significant chapter in the history of the pipe organ. Thanks to names, really great names like E. Power Biggs, Virgil Fox, Catherine Crozer, and many others, the 20th century in America was a great age to be an organist, as it is in the 21st century, frankly. American organs, however, in those days, rivaled orchestras in tonal range and expressive ability, thanks to builders such as Ernest M. Skinner and G. Donald Harrison. So in the 21st century, American composers, organ builders, and performers are more diverse than ever. And February, today's February 1st, is Black History Month. And I'm pleased to announce that our next performance will feature music from two African American composers. First, you're going to hear Toccata on Good News by Dr. Carl Maltzby, the music director and organist at St. Richard's Episcopal Church in Florida. This composition is a vibrant and rhythmic piece of music interpretation of the African-American spiritual titled Good News and Chariots Comin'. His compositions often bridge the gap between classical and vernacular styles, reflecting the deep spiritual and cultural heritage of the African-American experience. And this toccata is no exception, and it is a fitting tribute during Black History Month. Next, you're going to hear Retrospection by Florence Price, a woman who has the distinction of being the first African-American woman to be recognized as a symphonic composer and to have her music played by a major orchestra. Retrospection is a meditative and expressive organ work that reflects her deep musical sensitivity. When submitting the piece to the publisher, Florence Price jokingly suggested that they name it anything they liked. Perhaps she even said, quote, "Elf on a Moonbeam." I'm not certain where she got that one from. But anyway, the final title, Retrospection, captures the introspective and reflective nature of the piece. So performing these two pieces is the dean of our chapter, Dr. Valerie Harris. And I see that she's gone up there on the bench. She's getting the stops ready now. Let me introduce her a little bit more while she finishes. She's a concert organist, educator, and church musician dedicated to inspiring others through music. She's performed across the US and Europe, most frequently in Vienna, Austria, and she's a frequent guest recitalist at the Tabernacle in Salt Lake City. She has lectured for AGO National Convention, the National Federation of Music Clubs, and at the universities of Vienna and Graz. She is on the faculty of the Brigham Young University Organ Workshop Program. She holds a DMA in organ performance from ASU, and she's the organist at First United Methodist Church of Mesa, Arizona. So I think she's almost ready to go. Let me just give you a final reminder. For those of you who just tuned in, those of you who just walked in, this is the Kazago Music Marathon. We are raising money for students and young people to learn the organ. There's lots of ways to give. There's a basket in the room. There's a QR code on the back of your program. And if you're watching online, there is a QR code that pops up in the corner of the screen. But now, Dr. Valerie Harris playing two pieces by American composers, Toccata on Good News and then Retrospection. Valerie. That was Elf on a Moonbeam, or Retrospection, one or the other. You know, if you're just tuning in, if you've just come into the room, this is the Kazago Music Marathon. We're raising money for the Kazago Scholarship Program. And the scholarship program does more than just buy lessons for students or pay for lessons. We also give students a place to practice and perform. You know, when I was in middle school, I was in band, I picked the biggest instrument that I could get, and they didn't have tubas for middle schoolers in those days, but I did have a baritone saxophone, and I got the baritone saxophone, and I was so excited to have this huge instrument, and then it occurred to me that I didn't have any way to get it home, and I rode my bike to school in those days. Now, just imagine, though, if you're an organist, if you're an organ student, you can't take an organ home with you. The only thing you can do is you go to the place where the organ is at. And that's one of the things we do at Kazago with the scholarship program, is we give organists chances to play in organs all over the valley. We give them places to practice, and we give them teachers as well. It's a really worthy program, and we've taken many students from beginner level all the way up to advanced level, and we've had just a couple students even just recently go off to college to pursue higher education in organ studies. And so it's a very successful program, and it's all about keeping the organ alive. So that being said, we have two of our own students performing next. Jared Garcia is going to play Come Sweet Death. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, one of the great American organists was Virgil Fox. And he is the arranger of this piece of music, and I'll explain that here in a second. Virgil Fox was not only known for his amazing technical prowess on the organ, but also for his sense of drama. One of the peculiar quirks of him is that he wore an opera cape while performing. He claimed that he got cold. It's kind of chilly in here. I wouldn't mind an opera cape right now to keep him warm. I think, personally, he just liked the drama of wearing a cape because he would often swoop it when he played. And I think there's something very dramatic about that. He thought that was it made him look cool, perhaps. Our next performer does not have an opera cape. His name is Jared Garcia. And not only is he a fine organist, but he is also an aerospace engineer. He's in graduate school part-time, and he studies organ with one of our members, Mark Ramsey. Recently, he was lucky enough to play at the pipe organ in the Milan Cathedral called Duomo di Milano, which holds the second largest organ in Europe. So anyway, Jared is going to play Virgil Fox's arrangement of Bach's Come Sweet Death. And I know it's a Bach piece, and you'd think, well, why is it not in the German hour? Well, Virgil Fox has changed Bach so much that I don't think we can call it a German piece any longer. It is something unique on its own. In fact, when Fox was composing his arrangement of this Bach piece, a young woman who was a friend of Fox's would sit at the keyboard while he composed it. At least she claims she did. And that she would remark that he was so moved by his composition that tears were running down his cheeks as he wrote the music. Obviously, I think I've made it clear that Virgil Fox was a really dramatic kind of guy. So you're going to hear a lot of that drama in his arrangement of the piece. So, Jared, take it away. This is Virgil Fox's Come Sweet Death. Thank you very much, Jared. And if anyone needs them, there's tissues in the back. Our next performer is another one of our scholarship students. His name is Brayden Wagner, and he is a student of Dr. Valerie Harris. And he's a senior in high school. And aside from being a fantastic organist, he's also a very accomplished pianist and improviser. And he's going to begin his performance today with his own improvisation on the hymn tune titled Mendelssohn. Now, hymns always have a tune that sometimes relates to the title that the rest of us know it as, but this one is essentially the tune from Hark the Herald Angels Sing, but the official title is Mendelssohn. And then after he's done with that improvisation, he's going to play Richard Elliott's arrangement of Go Tell It on the Mountain. I guess for Brayden, it is not too late for Christmas music. So it looks like he's getting set up there. I think he's almost ready to go. So, Brayden, are you ready? No, he's getting the bench set. Let me just tell you again, if you want to give to the program, we've got QR codes on the back of the program here to give to our scholarship fund. We've got a basket in the room, and you can always go to cazago.org and click on the Donate to the Scholarship Fund. I think Brayden is ready. These are two pieces. First, an improvisation on Mendelssohn, and then second, Go Tell It on the Mountain by Richard Elliott. Well done, Brayden, well done. And I apologize, that was obviously not Hark the Herald Angels Sing, unless he improvised the tune so much it sounded like angels we had heard on high. But either way, it sounded great. Thank you so much, Brayden, for the performance. All of these performers today, by the way, have donated their time and their talent for the Scholarship Fund. And these last two performers were students, of course, of our scholarship program. And it's people like that we raise this money to take young organists and train them, and so they could play just as well as Jared and Brayden just performed for you. So if you're just tuning in, take a look at our webpage, cazago.org. And if you've just come into the room, welcome, and thank you for coming to support the Kazago Scholarship Program. Our next performer, and closing out the American portion of our program, is Dr. Kristin Holton Prouty. And she is an active church musician, performer, and teacher. She's had the privilege of studying in Austria and performing and competing throughout Europe, Mexico, and Egypt. She completed her doctorate with Kimberly Marshall at ASU. Dr. Holton Prouty has always been an active Kazago member. She was a former dean and also a district convener. And she is currently director of worship and music at Victory Lutheran Church in Mesa, where she's honored to play on the 3-manual Tracker Bigelow organ, Opus 17. Today she's going to play two pieces. The first is titled Elegy by William Grant Still. William Grant Still was an African-American composer of almost 200 works, everything from operas to symphonies to background music for television programs such as Gunsmoke and Perry Mason. The second piece Kristin will play is a voluntary on an Italian hymn, or on the Italian hymn by David Chamberlain. Italian hymn is the formal title of this hymn. David Chamberlain is a Utah-based organist and composer best known for many, many voluntaries on hymn tunes. So, I think she's ready to go. Without any further ado, Dr. Kristin Holton Prouty. Thank you, Kristin. Thank you, Dr. Holton Prouty. Well, that ends our American hour of the marathon. I know that some of you I've seen from the very beginning, and you've hung in there for 2 hours. We've got 1 hour more to go, and we have another palate cleanser between the two, the American hour and the French hour, so to speak, and that is Paul Lee, who will do an improvisation. Let me just give a brief bit of seemingly trivial history here. There used to be, maybe there still is, I don't know, but there used to be a television soap opera called General Hospital, which was a big deal. And in 1981, November 16th, 1981, was Luke and Laura's wedding on this television soap opera. It was such a big event in television history that Princess Diana, who had just been married that same year, sent a bottle of champagne to the studio as a part of the wedding, like as a wedding present. And that big deal also happened to have an organist who played that wedding, none other than Paul Lee, who is going to play an improvisation for us. Aside from that, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the best line of his resume, but he has a lot of other things that he's done. He is the organist at Grace Lutheran Church. He was the director of music ministries at St. Barnabas in Scottsdale. He's played concerts throughout the U.S. and abroad and held positions as organist all over the country. He has won a number of important national and international competitions, including winner of the Boston Young Artist Competition, Music Teachers National Collegiate Organ Competition, runner-up at the AGO National, bronze medal at the Grand Prix de Chartres International Organ Competition. So you can see he's got lots of claims to fame, but as far as I'm concerned, Luke and Laura's wedding is the best. Today he's going to play an improvisation for you. I don't know anything about it, and as far as I know, he doesn't know either. Paul, do you want to say something about it, or are you just going to play? I think he's taking the mic.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, there is a sheet out by the programs at the door that have some hymn verses on it that I'm taking inspiration from. I think our friend Brett has some. If you didn't get one when you came in, just raise your hand and he'll bring you one. I think the number of steps that it takes to get from the street up to this level is only short by a dozen to get up to the tribune for the organ at Chartres. Chartres' 82 steps. Sometimes people say, how do you improvise? What is that about? Do you just sit down and make things up? Well, yes, in a way, but not. I would say two things. Technique. Those of you that want to improvise, get in the practice room and play scales and arpeggios and every kind of technical exercise that you can play 24/7 until your fingers go where your brain thinks. Number two, harmony. And it doesn't have to be theory classes, but it needs to be a grounding and listening to music of all periods, all styles, contemporary, commercial, classical, music before it was even written down. Absorb it all, and then you have those two things working for you, your technique and a grounding in harmony, and then good luck. As I was thinking about making an improvisation today, a couple of things. Often in these settings, the presenter of the concert will come up to you with the envelope please, and you'll open it and there'll be a theme that someone has written, or maybe a hymn, or maybe a couple of things, and they will ask you to extemporaneously hold forth and make a piece out of this. That's not the case this week. So I had the liberty to make a free improvisation or really come up with my own structure. About the time I was really getting into this and actually the creative well felt dry that night, the news of the terrible plane crash in Washington started coming through. And then some other tunes and some other ideas just as I sort of processed the news for that on my own. And what came out of that was an idea to take a time to remember those who died, all those who traveled, anyone in your heart that you want to remember. And I think the words from what we call the Navy hymn, and then also another hymn by John Greenleaf Whittier, Dear Lord and Father of Mankind, and then those few verses from Psalm 104, at least they inspired me, and if nothing else works for you, at least trace the letters on the page. That's also very interesting. It's so good to see you this morning, and I hope that this will be a time of meditation.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was fantastic. And now we move into the final hour of our marathon, the French hour. Probably some of you have been waiting just for this moment. French music, especially French organ music, has some of the most famous pieces around in it. And French organ tradition has a unique place in the world of classical music because at the time, especially in the 19th and 20th centuries, France was producing some amazing and distinctive organ composers. And we're going to focus, of course, on those two centuries in particular. In the 19th century, organ music took on a much more symphonic character than it ever had in the history before. Organ builders such as Aristide Cavaillé-Coll and composers such as Charles-Marie Widor expanded the instrument's expressive range. Widor's Toccata from his Symphony No. 5 is probably the most famous organ piece ever written. And then the earliest 20th century saw further evolution in organ music with French composers such as Louis Verne, Marcel Dupré, and Maurice Duruflé, whose works combined rich harmonies, complex counterpoint, and influences from Impressionism. But beating at the heart of French organ music is always a sense of spirituality and the piety of the church. And that is always a big part of French organ music, especially in those times. But before we get on with the next performance, I just want to make an announcement. I was just told by our treasurer that we have raised over $500 so far towards our program, and I think that's a tremendous number. But I think I'd like anyone online watching, and maybe those of you even in the room here, if you would like to maybe text a friend or send a link or share on Facebook a post connecting this. I wonder if we could even do better before this final hour is up. But thank you to all of you who have given, whether in the room or whether online. That money is going to go to a good cause. Every dollar goes towards these students and lessons for them and other experiences for them on the organ. So our next performer is Michael Salazar. And he began his organ studies at an early age and earned his first organist position at All Saints Anglican Church in Prescott. He attended the University of Evansville, where he earned his Bachelor of Music in Organ Performance and a minor in Theological Studies. He went on to graduate school at Yale through the School of Music and Institute of Sacred Music, where he received his Master's in Organ Performance in 2013. He is currently the organist and music director at St. Barnabas, and in addition to his duties there, he also has a full-time career in commercial finance. And outside of music, he loves fitness, golf, cooking, ballroom dance, and, of course, capital markets, he says. He's going to play two pieces. First is, my wife tried to help me with the French, so forgive me if I'm not very good at this. Prélude et fugue sur nom d'Herlaine by Duruflé. Maurice Duruflé is a significant French composer, not because he was prolific, he only published 14 pieces, but because the few pieces he published were of such high quality. And he was a very modest man, unlike some of the other organists I've talked about today. And he worked as a parish organist and respected professor all his life and remained humble even after he attained international fame. The second piece Michael is going to perform is a movement from Widor's Symphonie Gothique. Like Duruflé, Widor was also a church organist and professor, serving at Saint Saint-Supplice in Paris for 60 years. So please enjoy Michael's performance, and remember, if you're watching online, post on YouTube and share a link. Try to invite a friend to watch this final hour of our marathon. Go ahead, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for supporting the program, and thanks for coming to this marathon. We've got a half hour left. If you need to stand up and move, I know my blood's starting to settle in my feet, I think, right now, sitting for so long. So if you need to get up and move around a bit, I don't blame you. We have refreshments outside if you missed them. There's some cookies. But don't go too far because we've got 2 more performers. Our next performer is Karen Taylor, who received her bachelor's degree in piano in 1987 from BYU. Then she spent many years raising 6 kids while teaching piano and performing at night. After her children grew up, she got a master's degree and now is working on her doctorate degree in organ performance. And she's studying privately with Dr. Craig Westendorf. I don't see Karen, though. Where are you, Karen? Are you here? Okay, she's coming up. She's also a joyful grandmother of 13 children and loves to play and read with them, hopefully, and play music with them as well. So she is going to play the Adagio from Louis Verne's Symphony No. 3. And if you haven't already, check out our website, cazago.org. You can give online. We have QR codes all over the place. Sometimes James puts it on the screen on YouTube, so you could just click on it right there. We've got it on the back of the program. We've got some signs around here. Please consider making a donation to support our program. Just a little while ago, I'd heard that we had raised $560 online so far. I've asked that we share links and try to move that number up higher. I wonder if we could even get it up to 800. We'll see what happens. Oh, we just passed it. Okay, I'm pushing that number. Our bar now has moved up to $1,000. But thank you, Paul. That's good news. We've just passed $800. So keep sharing the links. Keep spreading the word. And you know, the beauty of this is that this whole video, this whole event is going to live online. And so even if you don't think of somebody at the moment who might like it, later on, if you're like, oh, I know someone that might want to watch this video, might want to support young organ students, send them a link to the YouTube channel, and they can watch it, they can give, and after the fact, we can still support young organists as they learn music. So Karen is sitting at the bench. I think she's almost ready to give us the Adagio from Louis Verne's Symphony No. 3. Thank you so much, Karen. Beautiful. And we have one more performer. We're almost there. It looks like we have 22 minutes, and our last performer is ready to go. This is Brett Valliant, a native of Wichita, Kansas. And he realized his love of music at an early age and began playing piano at age 4. Continuing with organ instruction at Wichita State University, his professional career began at age 11, and by age 15, he was playing concerts around the United States. Since then, Brett has appeared in Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. He's performed for the American Film Institute as well as conventions of the American Theater Organ Society and, of course, the AGO. After years of filling in for Charlie and Lou at Organ Stop Pizza, Brett happily joined the Organ Stop musical staff in 2015 as their regular full-time organist. And in 2021, Brett was named Organist of the Year by the American Theater Organ Society. In addition to playing organ, Brett's friends know him for his love of ice and roller skating, animals, cooking, and classic cars. So today, he is going to close today's marathon with 2 performances. Not the kind of stuff you're going to hear at Organ Stop Pizza. You're going to hear the Ronde Francais by Léon Bellman, and then the energetic and magnificent Toccata in D major by Marcel Lanctuy. I think that last one's going to be a real banger. We're going to end this with a lot of noise and a lot of activity up there. So I think Brett is ready. Yeah, here we go. Brett Valliant. Bravo. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to all the performers. So many of these people, as I said before, they've given their time and talents today. Thanks to all of you for coming. Thanks to Gordon and St. Mary's and James for letting us host it here. Thanks for the people outside that have been serving cookies for the last 3 hours. Go out there and eat some cookies. Make them feel like they've been doing that for a good purpose. Thanks to all the Kazago members who've helped with this. And thanks to everyone who's donated to the Scholarship Fund. You guys are great. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. Paul, any last words?
We stand at $1,530.
Wow. Well, that's thanks to all of you for participating and giving. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you at our next Kazago event. Visit us at cazago.org for all our future events. Thanks again.